Hello everyone, welcome to this introduction to Star Expedition video. My name is Jort. I am part of Terror Knights, the strongest of 5 guilds in the Terror Knights Alliance. Last SC we placed rank 7. Storm just beating us, number 6. I personally ranked 3 in our guild. The reason I'm making this video is because many people in my guild and my alliance are very passionate about Star Expedition. We really enjoy the mode. I think our entire alliance is kind of based around it. And we tend to share a lot of stuff amongst each other. We tend to voice chat a lot. But whenever I look at the general Idle Heroes community, I think there's not a lot of discussion about Star Expedition. And I think this is quite unfortunate. I think it would be nice to have a little bit more information flow between guilds, share strategies maybe a little bit, and also get new players into it, because I think it's quite a daunting task to get into Star Expedition at the moment. I think you kind of have to join a guild that's kind of already doing Star Expedition, and it's pretty hard to set up a team with information that is available publicly, I would say.
I'm gonna try to keep it a little bit surface level, so I can touch on every single topic shown right here. Honestly, Star Expedition is a very complicated game mode. It goes very deep. It would be impossible to fit everything in one video. I could probably make a video about each and every single one of these topics. But to try and keep the total amount of time down a little bit, I'll make an introductory video. If you're interested by any of these topics, I've created a Discord server, and there will be a little bit more background information for each of them in there as well. And who knows, maybe if you guys like this video, I can make a couple more on each of the one topics and go a little bit more in depth. But after watching this video, I hope you will kind of have a starting point on how to build a team, why we're building certain heroes or building certain artifacts or infusions, anything. So you kind of have an idea of the why and not just the what, if that makes sense. I also want to encourage a little bit more of an open discussion in the community about Star Expedition. A lot of information seems to be gatekept within guilds, which also it makes sense. You know, Star Expedition is a competitive game mode, and guilds want to beat each other. But I personally, I would like to open discussion a little bit more community-wide as well. I think it would be nice. So if you want to hang out and talk a little about Star Expedition, make sure to join the Discord. If you want to tell me personally that I'm wrong about something, please just send me a DM. I'll put my Discord in the description as well. And finally, it's worth mentioning that everything I will be talking about in this video is kind of based on the things that I have found over my time in my guild and chatting with people in the community, based on my own testing, based on people testing that I have talked with. So I would say there's a good chance I'm off about some things, you know. It's a very complicated game, a lot of stuff is going on. There's a good chance I might be off about, maybe I'm off about the reasoning, maybe I'm off completely and I'm just telling you to do the wrong thing. But I think it's all in good faith. And I think if you can learn a thing or two, that's great. I think if you have something you think I can learn, that would also be great. Please just let me know. I would love to continue learning and open any discussion regarding Star Expedition. First, I want to shortly explain what Star Expedition is. I'm sure most of you who have clicked on this video probably already know. The boss's skill set will actually change 2 times. So once at X100 when hard mode starts, and then once at X50 when the second phase of hard mode starts. I'll be looking over the regular hard mode kills for now. I think this is where most people will be fighting their majority of Star Expeditions, so I think this is the most representative phase. But most of the things I'll be talking about in this video will apply to normal mode as well as past X50. Um, I think a basic attack is not that important. I think the Star Expedition boss usually does his active skill at the end of a round. So this is not too interesting. I think the takeaway from this is the Calamity. Calamity is just a skill effect that will be applied throughout many parts of the boss's kit, and not just the basic attack. When Calamity stacks up to 5 layers, it will inflict silence, fear, and seal of light. on the hero that has reached 5 layers on. And then after that, the Calamity stacks will be cleared. Interestingly, Calamity is a skill effect, so it cannot be cleared in any way. Not by enables, not by anything. Skill effects cannot be cleansed in this game. The active skill, yeah, it damages your ally or your heroes 3 times, and then it reduces their armor and it steals their attack. And this attack steal is the first part of what makes it most interesting, because this attack steal means that the Sark's Expedition boss will actually take 6% of all your cumulative attack of your entire hero pool. So the stronger you are, the more attack you have, the stronger the Sark's Expedition boss will be, the more attack he can steal. So you have more attack, the Sark's Expedition boss will start hitting harder. That's essentially the takeaway. And this is for 3 rounds. So after 2 rounds, the previous attacks will disappear. And then the second, besides Calamity, it also applies Curse of Decay. Curse of Decay is a mark actually, so this one can be cleared. And I think a common misconception about Curse of Decay, at least to the people I've talked to, is that Curse of Decay offsets one attribute buff. This does not clear any buffs. This just means that if you have, for example, 2 Curse of Decay stacks on your Olivia, and your Olivia gets a attack buff, if she gets 1 attack buff, then it will be offset by 1 Curse of Decay stack. So you'll have 1 Curse of Decay stack remaining. So it's just a 1-to-1 offset. 1 Curse of Decay stack will prevent you from getting 1 buff essentially. The passive skill, this is the counter-attack skill. After being attacked by either an active skill or basic attack, counter-attack will be launched that hits all enemies, so all of your heroes. Can also afflict fear, silence, and seal of light. But there's a additional interesting gimmick here. So whenever an ally is feared, the boss will increase its own holy damage by 12% for 15 rounds. This is the entire fight. If you get silence, it will restore its self energy, and if you get seal of light, it will increase self all damage dealt. And this brings us to the second part of why this boss kit is so interesting, because the holy damage stacks we can actually also use. This is the second buff the boss applies to himself, and we can kind of make use of this with the scissor artifact, and I'll be talking a little bit more about scissor artifact in the artifact section of this video. But the boss only puts 2 buffs on himself because the energy restores self 50 energy. This is also actually considered a buff, but we cannot replicate this in any way. This just goes into the energy bar of the boss. And all damage dealt is actually not considered a buff in this game, which is a little bit silly. It's just all damage dealt and all damage reduction. They're kind of exemptions to the rule. They are not counted as buffs, and we cannot replicate them with scissor artifact. As you can see in this figure here, only the buffs with an icon we can replicate. So not all damage dealt or all damage reduction. And then finally, at the end of each round, reduce enemy with the highest attack 100 energy, and also reduces the highest attack enemy 40% of attack. So this will be something to look out for your main damage dealer. Additionally, it also increases all allies' attack by 6%, also until the battle ends. So the boss will take a look at its own attack and gain a 6% attack buff. And this buff will also show up in the buff section of the boss above his health. And we can actually replicate this attack steal as well. So if you have noticed, this attack lasts until the battle ends. It will stay there until the end of a round. And the scissor artifact allows us to replicate this. So the boss will actually continually get more and more attack throughout the entire fight. It will start snowballing in a sense. And we can kind of dip into this snowballing by replicating this attack back onto our own heroes, which will then get stronger and do more damage. And then, if you remember from the catastrophic roar, the boss will actually steal our attack back and put it on himself. Then we can steal that attack, and it's kind of this cocktail of stealing attack from each other, and both of us get stronger. And the idea is that we come out on top by stealing a bunch of attack from the boss and also stealing its holy damage stacks and doing an insane amount of damage in the final few rounds of the fight. That's the idea. There's also kind of a hidden gimmick that's not mentioned here anywhere. It seems like the boss actually clears debuff from himself. So attack steal consists of two parts. It's attack buff part and attack debuff part. So whenever someone steals attack in this game, they put, in this case, a 6% attack buff on themselves, and then they also put a 6% debuff on your heroes. So if you can clean that debuff, like for example with Attribute Purify, you'll actually not have any negative effect of the debuff part. So in that case, yeah, there will be no negative effect on your heroes, and the boss will have 6% more attack. And then that 6% you can steal back. So this is kind of an interesting gimmick part that is not written down anywhere. And then finally, there's a 25% chance for the targets with Calamity to have one of their attribute buffs removed. So the way this works is the Star Expedition boss will look at the different amount of buffs you have and will pick one at random. So let's say you have 200 attack stacks and one speed buff and one damage reduction buff. It will choose one of the three at random, and then it will just remove that one. So we want to avoid losing our attack and holy damage stacks at all costs here, because they will continue ramping throughout the rest of the fight. So we would like to hold on to them as long as we can. So if we can increase the amount of different buffs we have on our heroes, the odds of getting one of the buffs we want to stay getting removed becomes smaller and smaller. So this is good to keep in mind. Then for star imprints and islands, I think star imprints are quite straightforward. As far as I know, pretty much everyone uses the foresight, the star imprint, the foreset. I think this is probably the best one. The Carl 4-piece might also be interesting, but I think most people are sticking to the foresight one. And then for the remaining two slots, I personally usually go with either the Destiny or the Tranquility. I think these are the most useful buffs. So it kind of depends. If you need more crit, you can go with the Destiny. If you don't really need more crit, then you can stick with Tranquility and get some extra attack out of it. And for islands, there's some strategy in picking which ones to go for first, but honestly, it's not the be all end all. I think the most important part is to kind of work together with your guild, coordinate a little bit, make sure everyone only clears 10 islands as a collective, so you can unlock as many buffs as you can possibly again as fast as possible. I've put the order our guild chooses up here. I think the most interesting islands, the more important islands, is the one that gets root of the polluting wave characteristic. This characteristic is pretty detrimental on day one because you won't have access to the island on day one, and it can kill your Aspen if it doesn't have Unbending Will. So it might be a good idea to put Unbending Will on Aspen on day one, and then switch to Balance Strike for the remaining of the days. And then there's a couple interesting islands. I think the one that gives 50 energy at the end of a round to all allies. That one is very, very powerful. I said earlier that Calamity cannot be cleared, but there's an island actually that does it. I think it might be the only source in the entire game that gets rid of the skill effect, as far as I'm aware. And then the last island here is also very strong, I would say. You can get one free immunity. This random immunity, Fear, Silence, or Seal of Light, is not for your entire team. It checks for each hero individually. So you can have 2 heroes with Silence immunity, 3 heroes with Fear immunity, and 1 hero with Seal of Light immunity, for example. And this is random every single fight. So you kind of have to hope that you don't get Fear immunity, because as we discussed earlier, if the boss puts Fear on you, it will give holy damage stacks to itself, and we can get those holy damage stacks back. And we would like to be able to steal these, so preferably not be immune to it. And then Silence Immunity and Seal of Enmity are both fine. Seal of Light is a little bit more detrimental, I'd say. It kind of disables your entire hero's kit, so it's not great to have on you. And then it also increases the boss's all damage dealt, which can actually start hurting in the later rounds. So we're kind of hoping for the Seal of Light immunity, which you can't really influence with in any way. So it's just kind of there. It's good to know, but you can't really influence this very much. Then I shortly want to talk about star spawns. There's a couple interesting ones that I think are good for Star Exhibition. For example, the damage reduction ones. This one, especially if you run Heart Watcher and Olivia, they get a bonus damage reduction as well, and these are also very squishy heroes, so there's some nice extra protection from the damage reduction star spawn. Then also the MAME star spawn, there's very little sources of MAME in this game, so there's actually quite a unique star spawn, and this adds damage, which is just nice. And then also, of course, the all damage dealt and the skill damage are very strong, as well as the armor break and control immunity. So the armor break ones and also the control immunity is also good to keep in mind. It also adds quite a bit of survivability. I'll put a tier list on screen for all of the star spawns, and you can kind of see which ones you want to upgrade first. Then also Treasure Train. Treasure Train is quite a handful at this point. There's many different treasures. I'll put some of the most strong ones on screen as well in a kind of the tier list. Um, I think some good ones to know is the Festival Treasures of 2023. If you haven't gotten them already, these are very, very powerful, not just for Star Exhibition, but also in general. And then we also have the Apex Mount, which is Star Expedition specific. Some ultimate reduction, very powerful. We also have this one, Armor Break, very good, because it might allow you to run without the imprint, which we'll get into later. And then there's obviously some more that are also very good. Obviously, damage reduction by attack, and also main quite rare effects. So these are good effects to upgrade because you can't really get them anywhere in the game except for on the sigil maybe. So they uh, provide a lot of additional benefits essentially. Now let's get on to the fun part. So I think there's kind of 8 heroes that kind of carry Star Expedition for most people. I think these are the heroes shown here are the most commonly used. I think probably about 99% of like proper Star Expedition teams are kind of composed of 6 of these heroes. I'll be going over them shortly just to give you a very quick idea of what they do. You can read the entire skill set for yourself, or I can go into depth a little bit more in a separate video, but I'll just describe their role in the team very briefly so you kind of get an idea of what they're doing. So let's start with Aspen. This is obviously your damage dealer. I think his active is probably the most important part of his kit. So to take away, the Star Expedition boss is a boss. So the final part of his skill set, the Demon's King's Might. This means Aspen will do more damage to the Star Expedition boss, and it will also steal its attack. So if you remember from earlier, the Star Expedition boss gets rid of the debuff part of the skill, but Aspen does keep the buff part. So this is a very nice boost in the attack stat of Aspen, which you can use after that to deal damage. And then something else to keep in mind, the numbers in parentheses, so the 1200% of attack, they get upgraded by your skill damage. So if you have 900% skill damage, this 1200% will actually turn into 2100% of attack. So if you run skill damage artifact and skill damage sigil, for example, this can actually go up very high. You can get well over 3000% skill damage. It becomes very, very powerful. Then final thing to note, it does damage 2 extra times if the enemy is below 60% health because of his deep sublimation. And then if you aren't aware, the fire makes it so Aspen does extra damage whenever a target is above 70% health. This means that there is a kind of a dead zone between 69% and 60%, where Espen gets no additional modifiers, and this actually hurts quite a bit in later bosses. So if you can avoid hitting the boss into that zone and kind of trying to skip past it with a strong Aspen, then you would do your guild a very big favor. Then LBRM. LBRM provides many different buffs to your team, but I think the most important one is this, the passive skill. Whenever an ally is affected with a control effect, LBRM will take 30 energy from herself and use it to get rid of this control effect. So let's say your Aspen gets Sealed Lighted and your LBRM has energy. LBRM's energy will be reduced by 30 and Aspen will get rid of the Seal of Light. It's also very nice because this still means that you get CC'd. So if you get feared, the boss will still apply the holy damage stack to himself. But you won't have any negative downside essentially, right? Because LBRM will clear it immediately after. So this is different from control immunity. It's a very powerful thing because you can get the holy damage buffs without having negative effect of being CC'd. Then we have Elena. This hero also pops out in some teams, not all of them. I think, yeah, she's overall provides survivability, I would say, if you have to kind of put it into one word. Her kit is largely based around Mystical Veil, which allows your heroes to dodge active skills or basic attacks, meaning they tend to survive a little better. And there's also some additional buffs, for example, in her Destiny skill that are quite nice, but we'll get to those later. Then Madeline. Madeline again provides a lot of different buffs, mainly control immunity and also some element reduction. But she also gets rid of CC effects. So Madeline often goes first in speed order. She should go first in speed order because she will get rid of one CC effect on all of your heroes. So this is obviously very nice to have at the start of a round to make sure all of your heroes can actually do their attacks afterwards. If you remember, we will be immune. All of our heroes will be immune to one CC effect. So there can only be two CC effects on us at most if we're unlucky. And Madeline will also will always make sure to clear one of those. And then if there's any CC effects remaining, LBRM or maybe some infusions can get rid of any other C effects. But usually Madeline keeps the CC effects in check pretty well by herself. Then we have STV. Once again, it's a very supportive hero. I think her big strength is that she provides a lot of different buffs. So as you can see, it increases all allies' attack, armor, damage reduction, control immunity, and speed. If you remember from earlier in this video, these are all buffs. These are 5 different buffs just from our active skill. And if you remember from the start of the video, the Star Expedition boss has a chance to clear one random buff off of your heroes at the end of a round. So if there's many different types of buff on your hero, then there is less of a chance that your holy damage or attack stacks get cleared. And this is obviously very nice because this means that we can continue ramping those stacks throughout the entire fight. She also has a slight downside, it's good to keep in mind. She gives your heroes quite a bit of speed, so she can mess up speed order a little bit. But we'll get back to that in the speed order section. Just keep in mind, if you run SCV, you'll have to run a bigger speed gap in between your heroes. Then SQH, the most important part of her skill is right here, the Abyssal Eruption. This allows heroes who crit on the Stark Vision boss to do more crit damage. So obviously Aspen will be critting quite a bit if you set up correctly, and this will just increase his damage that much more, because this is also one of its kinda buff at this game. And crit damage is usually kept at 150%. This is the only skill in this game that kind of gets you beyond that. So it turns out this is just a very, very powerful multiplier. And then Olivia, very interesting hero. I think pretty much any team, any team would be running Olivia. It's very, very hard to get around her. She has the shrink mechanic, and the shrink mechanic is twofold. It reduces the attack or the damage targets do by 60%, which is a big, big debuff. And then also it increases the damage that they take by 40%. So this it's both for survivability and also for extra attack. It's just extremely powerful. I think pretty much any team will be running an Olivia. And then finally, Heart Watcher. Heart Watcher has the Watcher marks, which allow you to do up to 300% more damage when fully stacked. Active skills will make it so targets take 35% extra damage, and then the basic attacks will do it for 35%. This will stack up to 300% max in total. For Speed Archer, this is my general lineup. I think most people should probably be running something like this. I think this is most applicable for most accounts, but there's always some caveats. So I'll be going through all the different iterations that I'm personally using. But I'll start with this one. As mentioned before, BDSM, she will be first in your speed order to make sure she clears the C effect. So BDSM will be going first in speed order. Then second, it's kind of coin flip. You can either do SQH or LFA second. It's kind of trade-off. If you do SQH second, you will allow for more Abyssal Corruption stacks, so Aspen can do more damage. If you do Aspen second, there's less of a chance that one of the counterattacks will be CCing Aspen. So it's more likely that he will actually do his active or attack, do his basic attack if he doesn't have energy. So it's essentially a trade-off. I think one of them is a little bit more consistent. If you do Aspen second, it's a little bit more consistent. And the other one, SQH second, has a little bit more potential to do a big hit essentially. So it's kind of what you're after. I personally ran Aspen second last SE, but as I said, it's kind of up to personal preference. Then Olivia, she should be fourth in speed order. Her shrinks last for 2 rounds, so as long as she attacks either active or basic, the shrink will be there for the next round, which is all we need. Then we have STV. She'll be going fifth. As mentioned before, if you run STV, the speed order needs to be bigger than if you don't run STV. I recommend a speed cap of 61 if you run STV. If you don't run her, you will only need 21, because BDSM also has a small chance to actually ruin speed for a little bit. She increases speed by 20, so if you go around more than 21, then you make sure your speed order doesn't get messed up. And then finally LBRM. LBRM should always be last. She's just there to do the CC cleanse mostly. So you want to give her the entire round to use all her energy for the CC cleanses if need be, because she actually charges up her active skill as well doing that. So even if she has no she has no energy, but she did clear 3 CC effects, in which she will still do her active skill regardless, even if she has 0 energy. So you kind of want to give her as much chance as possible for this to happen. Then you can also run Heart Watcher instead. I personally run Heart Watcher over LBRM, but you can also run Heart Watcher over SDV. If you either just make sure the Heart Watcher goes before LBRM or before SDV. In this case, Heart Watcher would go 5th before LBRM or SDV, whichever you put out. Heart Watcher can often be quite difficult to keep alive, so if you have trouble keeping Heart Watcher alive, then you can run LBRM or SDV instead. And if you still have survivability issues, you can even run PDE, which is kind of the setup that I use for after X50. And then in this case, it would still be PDA 5th, and then LBRM or SDV 6th. Then for artifacts, as talked about before, for the backline, this is an artifact. And this artifact replicates 2 random buffs. And there's only one enemy with, so make sure you get rid of tentacles using one of the islands. So this will always hit the Star Expedition boss, and the Star Expedition boss only actually puts 2 buffs on himself. As discussed before, All Damage Shield is not a buff, you can't steal it. So there will only be attack buffs and holy damage buffs to steal, and these will always land on the scissor. And then the scissors will buff the entire backline using these effects. So the effects will retain 30% of its potency, and they will last for the same duration as the original buff. So if you remember, the Star Expedition boss has many buffs that last throughout the entire fight. So that means that the buffs will also stay on our heroes for the entire fight, which is really, really nice. And then for your frontline heroes, Madeline will be running Energy Feed. Personally run Demon Bell. Madeline should be doing an active every single round if everything is set up correctly. And if not, very close to every round. Demon Bell is just better Energy Feed. And then also some interaction with the Curse of Decay stacks we talked about earlier. The Curse of Decay can actually block energy feed, so it will not block energy gain from basic attacks or active skills, but it can block energy feed from artifacts. So if you run a mirror and you still have remaining Curse of Decay stacks on your heroes, then this energy can actually be blocked, which can be quite bad. For example, if your SQH still has a couple Curse of Decay stacks on her, and she doesn't get energy from Madeline's mirror, and then she doesn't active, and this can lose out on a lot of damage. And then for Olivia, or whoever's in the second slot, I personally run Toad to give her that extra bit of survivability. You can also run a second Demon Bell or even a mirror if you want. If you can get away without running energy on her, just give her the extra survivability. If you really have to run more survivability on her, then give her defensive artifacts like Toad, or maybe DMSS is also an option if you have one of those. Then finally for Aspen, this is the Breath of the Forest Spirit. I think this is the safest option. This is just a very powerful offensive artifact. And you can maybe try running her anti-wire class artifact. Might be better for some people, or even a 4th set of scissors. But for me personally, the Breath of the Forest Spirit has always performed better, so I would recommend that one. if possible, run 3 scissors. If you really can't survive or you really don't have enough energy feed, you can trade one of the scissors for more energy feed, and hopefully you can survive with that instead. And then the core will always be Madeline. She gets some heals, and she also provides some shield, which is important for her kit. So just run Madeline's core. If for some reason you don't have Madeline, you can also run PDE core. This kind of reduces the control effects to 1 round. Phoenix, as discussed throughout the video, Phoenix allows for random allies um, to do more damage to burning enemies. So as long as you have a Nova, the boss will always be burned. The Phoenix will always allow you to do this extra damage multiplier. It's worth considering if you level up Phoenix beyond level 240, and you'll actually also increase your crit chance by 30%, so it adds a little bit more RNG. Because you have to take it into account when you set up Aspen's crit. For Awakens, the most important one is Aspen. You have to have Giant Killer on the fire if you want to do big damage, so an A tier will be sufficient. These just add a ton of damage together. And then for the third stat, or maybe even fourth stat, if you have an S tier, it's kind of toss up between, well, for an E tier, repeat skill damage would be the best third stat, and then for an S tier, you get access to Hunter Focus and Seal of Light immunity. I think Seal of Light immunity is probably the strongest out of the three, and then Hunter Focus doesn't do that much in Star Expedition because we already have a ton of different ultimate shot sources, and skill damage is it's kind of whatever. If you can get anything with Giant Killer in the fire, it's I would just take it. It's quite difficult to get a perfect roll. I've been trying for hundreds and hundreds of hammers, and I'm still stuck with my skill damage. If I ever get a Seal of Cloud immunity roll, I will take it in a heartbeat. But so far, no luck together with Giant Killer in the fire. And then for your support heroes, as mentioned before, Seal of Light immunity is just very, very powerful. So if you have S tiers, that is the stat to look out for. If not, like most of us mortals, any defensive stat is sufficient. Control immunity, damage reduction, heal effect being healed, holy armor, block, stuff like that. As you can see, that's running on most of my support heroes. Then for enables, BDSM will be running the control purify. This is just to make sure she can actually get her active off. If she's CC'd, then she might not be able to. Very straightforward. CC purify. Then for your slot 2 hero, you can put mark purify on them. This can get rid of some on any remaining curse certificates, like if they're on there, and then this also prevents them from taking the extra damage. So this just a small chance this will provide some survivability. But Mark Purify is actually completely useless on your backline heroes. It's a little bit of a technical reason behind it, but I'll give you the very short rundown. The way this game works is it does all the at the end of a round effect per hero. So it will start with the slot 1 hero, then the slot 2 hero, then the slot 3 hero, and then it actually does artifacts before enables. So the scissor artifact will be going before the enabling. So the scissor artifact will get rid of all of the curse decay stacks that will be remaining on your heroes guaranteed. There will be none left because there's so many attack and holy damage stacks that there will always be more than can possibly be on your hero. So there's no point in running Mark Purify on your backline. So I run attributes reduction purify, and this is just to get rid of any um, attack reduction effects on these heroes. So the boss can steal more attack, and then we can in turn steal more attack back, and it kind of stimulates the snowballing, which is a good thing. Crit is often quite a complicated one. I think there's no one size fit all for crit. And the most important part about crit is that one of your attack instances in your active skill does not crit, and this is just to enable Balance Strike to do extra damage. Balance Strike actually, it says it will do extra damage if the skill fails to land a crit, but this was also trigger for the entire active skill if only one of the attack instances doesn't crit. So you should remember Espen skill is made of several components. It deals damage a couple times to the enemy, and only one of these times the skill doesn't need to crit. All of these times the crit chance is individually calculated. So it depends on what HP percentage the boss is on, but Aspen will hit between 6 and around 9, I believe, instances, and we need to make sure that one of these does not crit, or to make sure that Balance Strike amplifies the damage of the entire active skill. So what's your crit? I think a good starting point is to run 20% crit, around 20% crit. And so if you run the infusion path, the imprint infusion, if you know about imprint infusions, there's a path that will minus 50% your crit chance, so you would run 70% in that instance. And then a little bit more is probably fine, but I would use 20, 25% as a starting point, and then kind of work your way up. You can try pushing it a little bit, but do it in small increments just to see how your damage reacts. And then obviously this also depends a lot on the rest of your account, so whether you have any crit chance treasures and stuff like that. So just as a general starting point, start with 20 to 25% crit. And then you always have to make sure your crit damage is maxed and your armor break is maxed. And you can kind of use the other enables to fix your speed order. So the vitality, the growth infusion, kind of pick and choose which one you need to fix your speed order. And then also it is good to know that if you have infused enable infusion on any of these heroes, that the vitality will actually give you a bunch of all damage reduction. This is actually very nice for your Olivia or your Archer. It's a big health boost. And the vitality in the second slot, this is just for everyone, just more heals all across the board. And then it will also grant the shield to the elemental lowest HP, so just more survivability for your whole team. And for Aspen, it is full attack mode. With Balance Strike, except for on day 1, when you should be running Bending Will to make sure he doesn't die. And then for the other stats, just make sure that they're kept. So crit damage is kept at 150. You also have your Phoenix that will give you some extra crit damage. You also have Star Imprints that will give some crit damage. So mine is well above 150. Armor break should be at 100, same thing. You can put some extra armor break in your Star Imprints, and also from your treasure trains also get applied afterwards. I think these are the most common issues people run into. And then for the rest of your heroes, it's all damage reduction control immunity, these are the most important stats for survivability. If you're dying or you're getting controlled too much, up your control immunity is probably my first piece of advice. And then for the final one, you can run block or armor, either or. I think either will work. For me, as you can see, I run the crits imprint as well as crits soulstones on my BDSM and my SQH. But this is purely for imprint infusion reasons. If you want to know more about that, you can skip ahead to the infusion part of this video. Other than that, stones are mostly just for speed order. You can run speed HP, heal effect, effect of being healed, precision, anything really works. It's more of a speed game more than anything. Then for the Destiny, 3 of these heroes. For BDSM, extra energy feed, extra effect of being healed. I prefer this one over the all damage reduction because it's a buff, like discussed before. More buffs means there's less chance of your heroes getting their attack stolen. You can also run the all damage reduction here. It's also very good defensively. It's probably better defensively if you're dying. Then reduce all damage dealt. This is usually paired up with either attack or all damage dealt. I always recommend people to do all damage dealt instead of attack here, because if you reduce the boss's attack, yes, he will hit less hard, but it will also mean that we will be stealing less attack from the boss using Aspen's active skill, which is not ideal. You would prefer to have the boss as high of an attack stat if possible. So I always reduce all damage dealt. And then same thing here, all damage dealt. Other ones aren't really that good. SQH, same thing, energy. Again, just a buff for your allies. Damage reduction is also a buff, but it's also a very good defense stat. Some heals. Not much more to be said here, to be honest. Same thing here, energy feed. Vesper is very good at energy feed, actually, it's one of her strongest points. Increase all damage dealt. Some heals for your lowest HP ally. Self heal or skill. Then LBRM. If you don't know, LBRM's Nirvana skill is actually really bad because it goes from 6 transition power to 12 transition power, so she will release her Destiny skill half as often. So keep her at Polystar for Star Expedition. And probably in general as well, but for Star Expedition this goes too. She's usually just better at Polystar, unless you wanna use her for PvP and you have a high level Nova Star Soul you have to put on her, and then you will need her to do Nirvana. But for any other situation, she's better at Polystar. Again, heal for your lowest HP ally. Rig of being healed, extra buff, reduces all damage dealt, and increases all damage dealt for your allies. You can choose to do holy damage here. This is the sequence of the buff, but we already have holy damage stacks on our heroes, so this will actually not be an additional buff. If you want to run an extra buff, you should be running the armor here. All damage dealt is nice, but it's not the be all end all. We already get a ton of different all damage dealt sources throughout the fight. Islands give a ton of all damage dealt. Breath of Force also gives a ton of all damage dealt. So these are very small buffs. I wouldn't get too hung up on them, to be honest. And then for PDE, once again, PDE same thing. Where it's just an extra buff, and you can do heals for some extra survivability for your Olivia or your Watcher. Damage reduction or effective being healed. You can choose. STV also increases effective being healed, so I would do either one of the two. Discuss before, no attack reduction if possible. And then here, some extra all damage chance. And last but not least, Aspen's Destiny skill. So it's pretty straightforward. We want to maximize the amount of attack instances here. So just plain and simple, 1000% extra damage guaranteed. Um, you could also do this one, but I like to play it safe. I'm actually not sure if this node gets killed by skill damage and holy damage, but I'm pretty sure this one does. So I'm just playing it safe with this one. Because this is a flat attack, and then this is based on the percentage HP, so that's why I'm not sure. Then reduce armor, pretty straightforward. Avoid the attack reduce. Then here, same thing, just playing it safe, 800% attack, it will always trigger. This one will only trigger if certain conditions are met. I'm usually just too lazy to swap it around, so make sure that the right one is on there. Some people like to run control immunity, but I think it's more valuable to run the extra attack instance here. Because they just add that much more damage than on damage dealt. Pretty straightforward, and the transition skill. And for Star Souls, I will once again put a tier list on the screen. Um, Most important, Spectre and Aspen. This just allows you to do that much more damage. I think level up to level 24 is just kind of, all of these skills are just good to have. So it's safe to upgrade your Star Soul up to 24 at least. Then after that it starts getting quite expensive, so it's okay to put time and effort into different ones. Then Nova is the second obvious pick. It only needs to be level 1. You just needed to put burn on the enemy, which you will do every single round. I just put it on Madeline because she will do her attack every single round because she has the control purify enable on her just to make sure the boss is always burned, so Phoenix extra damage can take effect. And then other Star Souls to consider, Pupil just does some additional, provides some additional dodges as well as control immunity, so just some more survival. Quite a powerful artifact, or quite a powerful Star Soul, but not a necessity. And then the other ones that are interesting as well are Bloom. Bloom provides a set of different buffs, which, as discussed before, these are just good to kind of add on to your heroes in hopes that they they get stolen instead of your attack and holy damage stacks. Bloom, much like Bloom, also adds a ton of different buffs to your allies, which can be quite nice if you run it right before um, the end of a round where the boss has a chance to steal one of those buffs. But this Star Soul only gets activated once every 3 rounds, so I would say it's not as good as Bloom, but both of them are worth considering. And then the rest of Star Souls are just actually bad for Star Expedition, so they're not really worth your time. This worth mentioning that Nova at max level is actually very bad for Star Expedition, level 29, because it starts removing one random attribute buff. which means they can't snowball like we're trying to do. So if you're close to Max Nova, do not level it up to level 29. If you want to play Star Expedition, this is just so completely ruin Nova, the Nova Star Soul for a Star Expedition. You actually have to drop Nova and probably switch to a different monster as well. You would probably have to run Fenrir over Phoenix just to get the bleed bonus instead of the bird bonus, which is an overall downgrade. For the Grimoire part, final power creep, source to get sigils. I think the strongest sigil is probably skill damage. Actually, it's by far skill damage. And this sigil provides so much extra damage. If you have a still skill damage sigil, even just a purple one, it will do better than a red sigil without skill damage. So definitely seek one out if you haven't already. Control immunity is probably one of, if not the best defensive stat. I think it's kind of a tie between control immunity and damage reduction by attack. So skill damage, control immunity, or skill damage, damage reduction by attack is are kind of the ones to look out for. But all damage reduction or regular damage reduction are also quite powerful. If you want a really defensive sigil, you can kind of do a mix between defensive attributes and skip the skill damage. But if possible, I would definitely keep the skill damage in there. Imprint Infusions, this is the tree I'm running on Aspen. I think there are many different options, and I know people run vastly different things here, but I'll give you a short rundown of why I'm running the things I'm running. So let's start with the control immunity pad. If you remember, my teams actually don't use LPRM, but what I do is I use this pad instead, where is a 50% chance to remove control effects immediately after regaining it. So this is essentially what LBRM does, but without having to use LBRM. So if I get CC'd, there's a 50% chance to immediately get rid of the CC, and then I will still reap the benefits of the holy damage stack if it's the fear. And then we have the speed pad. This just adds a ton of extra damage. I think this one is a no-brainer. Everyone should be running this one. The boss is very slow, so we're always faster. Yeah, just a lot of extra damage. Then we have the attack steal. Yeah, once again, stealing attack is good. Allows for more ramping. The debuff removal. This is kind of because I have some extra points laying around. There's already quite a bit of things that remove debuffs, but just to make sure, all our attack debuffs are cleared, I have this pad as well. And then the minus 50% crit chance, and this just increases your own attack by so much that it's always worth running, in my opinion. This attack allows to be skilled off of for throughout the entire fight, which is very good. And then the all damage dealt pad as well, just some extra all damage dealt. Always nice. Then, as you can see, I don't run the damage reduction offset pad. I have put I've put the damage reduction offset actually on my support heroes instead. I will get to those in a little bit. And then for core infusions, I think this is pretty much a no-brainer. It's just the first pad. All along, you should probably just focus all your core infusion shards into Aspen. Because it adds a ton of damage. I think it is not even close to any of the other paths. It's very straightforward. Then for your support heroes, for me, I infused Madeline and SQH. This is the support path I'm running. The same thing, control immunity. I actually run control immunity on every single one of my heroes. And Olivia as well. Just to make sure I'm covering all my bases, get rid of as many CC effects as I possibly can without having to use LBRM. Again, attack steal, debuff removal, same as for Aspen. Then we have the damage reduction offset, so if the boss is below 50%, his damage reduction will actually be reduced down to 0 using SQH and BSM. Again, attack pad, more attack for the entire team equals more attack to the boss equals more attack still. And then I also have the crit damage, or it's crit damage resistance reduction. So this is why I'm running such a high crit chance on zeros to make sure that they crit and any crit resistance is going to be lowered. We have core infusion. I actually think I'm not entirely sure if this is the right play, but I do really like the green for support hero. Just for one hero, you don't need it on two, I don't think, because the effects will start overlapping. But I think it's worth putting 6 core infusion shards on one of your support heroes. I choose BDSM because she will actually get some additional E feed from this as well. So she will be doing active skills every single route. And this will be important to gain the Spring Rain blessings. Spring Rain marks, it's energy feed, and the Spring Rain blessing is more control immunity. So just overall more support. Then SQH, same thing as BSM. Exact same infusions, exact same reasons. And then we have STV and Olivia. These are just kind of leftover points. They will essentially they will be boiling down to the same thing as BDSM and SQH. But I just made sure to have to at least have the control immunity pad unlocked. I would actually put this was for testing. For Olivia, I just made sure to have the control immunity pad. If I'm actually planning on reversing the scrolls so I can put some more defensive attributes on Olivia. I would probably run this pad as well. Some extra damage reduction just to make sure she stays alive and healthy. And same thing for PDA. At the moment I don't have infusions on her, but I will be infusing her for upcoming SE, and I will just be control immunity as well. And that's about it. Yeah, and that's about it. So if you have any questions, if you have any remarks, if you have anything to add to the discussion, please do feel free to join the Discord. If you want to join an alliance that is very SE focused, make sure to check out the Terror Knight Alliance. There will be a Discord link in the description as well where you can apply. Maybe see you in the future. If you guys want to see more in-depth videos about any of these parts, just let me know. And otherwise, you can check out the guides in the Discord server instead. See ya.